Conor McGregor's rise to double champ is one of the craziest stories in MMA. He joined the UFC in 2013, already holding 2 belts from Cage Warriors, and said from day one he'd be a 2-division champ here too. He made his debut against Marcus Brimage and finished him in under 90 seconds. Then he ran through fighters like Max Holloway, Diego Brando, and Dustin Poirier. That win over Dustin was huge. It proved he was more than just hype. By early 2015, the UFC gave him a title shot against Jose Aldo, who had ruled the featherweight division for years. But Aldo pulled out 2 weeks before the fight due to a rib injury, so Conor ended up facing Chad Mendes for the interim title. Even though Mendes took him down repeatedly, Conor kept getting back up and finished him in the second round. Then came UFC 194, Aldo finally showed up, and Conor knocked him out in just 13 seconds. Still the fastest finish in a UFC title fight. Just like that, Conor became the undisputed king at 145, but he wasn't done yet. Next, he set his sights on the lightweight belt and called out the champ Rafael dos Anjos. However, RDA pulled out due to a foot injury, and Nate Diaz stepped in on short notice and submitted Conor. They rematched 5 months later, and Conor came back with a better game plan, using leg kicks and winning by majority decision. After that, he finally got his lightweight title shot against Eddie Alvarez at UFC 205. He dominated every second of that fight, dropped Eddie multiple times, and finished him in round 2. He became the first fighter ever to hold 2 UFC belts at the same time. Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier started out as a heavyweight, remaining undefeated and ragdolling opponents with his Olympic-level wrestling. However, when he got to the UFC, his teammate Cain Velasquez was the heavyweight champ, so out of respect, DC dropped down to light heavyweight. At 205, he looked unstoppable, beating fighters like Dan Henderson and Pat Cummins. His first title shot came against Jon Jones in 2015, but he lost that fight. Jones remained champ for a while, but after legal troubles led to his being stripped of the title, DC got another shot against Anthony Rumble Johnson. Rumble hit him hard early, but DC stayed calm, used his wrestling, and eventually took Rumble's back, choking him out to become the new light heavyweight champion. He defended the belt a few times and eventually got a rematch with Jon Jones. This time, Jones knocked him out, but then failed a drug test, resulting in a no contest, and DC kept his belt. In 2018, DC went back up to heavyweight to fight Stipe Miocic, the greatest heavyweight at the time. He knocked Stipe out in the first round, making history as the second fighter to ever hold 2 UFC belts simultaneously. Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo's double champ run is one of the most underrated in UFC history. Most people saw him as just a wrestler, which he was, and a damn good one. He won an Olympic gold medal in wrestling and was the youngest American to do so, a record that held until 2024. In the UFC, he proved he could hang with elite strikers. He started at flyweight and went 4-0 pretty quickly, but then faced Demetrius Johnson, the long-running champ who was nearly untouchable. Henry lost that fight in the first round, and many wrote him off. Instead of disappearing, he got much better and earned a rematch with DJ 2 years later. At UFC 227, Henry pulled off a huge upset, edging out a super close decision and ending Demetrius Johnson's legendary title reign. That win made him the new flyweight king, but he didn't stop there. He moved up to bantamweight to fight Marlon Moraes for the vacant title. Early on, it didn't look good as Marlon was landing leg kicks, but Henry dug deep, turned up the pressure, and broke Marlon with his pace and toughness, finishing him in the 3rd round. He became the 4th fighter in UFC history to hold 2 belts simultaneously. The crazy part is that he defended both titles, something not many double champs do. He beat TJ Dillashaw at flyweight and defended the bantamweight belt against Dominic Cruz before retiring on top. Jon Jones. Jon Jones is a name always tied to greatness and a bit of chaos. He became the youngest UFC champion ever at just 23 when he ran through Mauricio Shogun Rua to win the light heavyweight belt. From there, he dominated, beating legends like Rampage Jackson, Rashad Evans, Vitor Belfort, and Daniel Cormier. His fight IQ, reach, creativity, and wrestling made him nearly impossible to beat. However, outside the cage, things were a mess. He was stripped of the title multiple times due to legal issues and failed drug tests, creating a pattern of coming back, winning the belt, and getting stripped again. He eventually walked away from light heavyweight in 2020 after defending the belt against Dominic Reyes. After 3 years away, he returned in 2023 at heavyweight, stepping right into a title shot against Cyril Gane, one of the most athletic and dangerous heavyweights. Many were unsure how Jones would fare after such a long layoff and a weight jump. In classic Jon Jones fashion, he made it look easy, taking Gane down early, locking in a guillotine, and making him tap in under 3 minutes. Just like that, Jon Jones became the heavyweight champ, Georges St-Pierre, GSP. GSP is one of the cleanest and most disciplined fighters the sport has ever seen. He wasn't flashy or loud, but was a total machine in the cage. GSP dominated the welterweight division for years with sharp striking, elite wrestling, and next-level fight IQ. He first won the welterweight belt back in 2006, but lost it to Matt Serra in one of the biggest upsets in UFC history. Most guys would have crumbled after that, but GSP came back stronger, beat everyone in front of him, and avenged his loss to Serra a year later. He went on one of the most dominant title runs ever, defending the welterweight belt 9 times. Nobody could figure him out. Then in 2013, after a super close fight with Johnny Hendricks, GSP shocked everyone by walking away from the sport while still holding the belt. He took a 4-year break, and most thought he was done for good. But in 2017, he returned, not at welterweight, but at middleweight to fight Michael Bisping for the belt. GSP had never fought at that weight in the UFC, but you couldn't tell. He looked sharp, dropped Bisping, and choked him out in the 3rd round to become the middleweight champ. That win made him a 2-division champ, and it was his only fight at middleweight. BJ Penn's journey to becoming a double champ was wild, and there's never been anyone quite like him. He wasn't just good, he was a prodigy. He became the first American to win gold at the World Jiu-Jitsu Championship as a black belt after only a few years of training, earning the nickname The Prodigy. He jumped into MMA with almost no pro experience and made an impact right away. After just 3 UFC fights, he had a shot at the lightweight title but lost. Then he moved up to welterweight and challenged Matt Hughes, who was dominating the division. BJ shocked everyone by submitting Hughes in the 1st round, becoming the UFC welterweight champ. After winning the belt, BJ left the UFC over a contract dispute and fought in other organizations. He returned years later and dropped back down to lightweight, where he really hit his stride. He dominated Joe Stevenson to win the lightweight belt and defended it against top fighters like Sean Sherk, Kenny Florian, and Diego Sanchez. During that run, BJ looked unstoppable with his sharp boxing, world-class grappling, and warrior mindset. Yes, his record took a hit in his later years, but BJ was only the 2nd fighter in UFC history to win belts in 2 different weight classes, and he did it before weight jumping was common. Randy Couture. Out of everyone on this list, Randy Couture deserves the most props. He didn't start MMA until his mid-30s, but he made up for lost time quickly. A decorated Greco-Roman wrestler, Randy came into the UFC using his wrestling to control opponents. Back then, the sport was still figuring itself out, but Randy came in like he was built for it. He won the UFC heavyweight title in just his 4th pro fight. Despite being undersized at heavyweight, Randy held his own against much bigger opponents. He lost the belt not long after, but won it again, a theme throughout his career. The big turning point came when he dropped down to light heavyweight. There, Randy took on Chuck Liddell, who was on an impressive run. Randy outworked him, beat him up, and won by TKO. After that, he faced Tito Ortiz and dominated him too. At 43 years old, Randy came back to heavyweight to take on Tim Sylvia for the belt. Sylvia was much bigger and younger, and most thought Randy didn't stand a chance. But Randy controlled the entire fight, winning the heavyweight title for the 3rd time, proving that age doesn't matter for people like him. Alex Pereira. This story begins in professional kickboxing, where Alex Pereira was a powerful Brazilian fighter with indigenous roots and a tough upbringing. He battled alcohol addiction at just 13 and worked 12-hour shifts to support his family. Kickboxing became his way out. In that world, he fought Israel Adesanya and beat him twice. After that, Adesanya moved to MMA, quickly becoming a UFC star and winning the middleweight title in 2019. Pereira stayed in kickboxing and made history by becoming a 2-division champ in Glory, but even as a double champ, he wasn't earning much. In 2020, Adesanya made comments that fired Pereira up, saying he watches all my fights and that no one knows who Pereira is. This gave Pereira the final push to switch to MMA. In 2021, he joined the UFC, and with deadly power, he tore through the division. In just his 4th UFC fight, he got a title shot against Adesanya at UFC 281 for the middleweight belt. He was losing on the scorecards, but landed a powerful left hook in round 5 and finished Izzy to become a champ. They fought again, and this time Adesanya knocked him out, but Pereira didn't slow down. He moved up to light heavyweight, beat Jan Błachowicz in a close fight, and then faced Jiri Prochazka for the vacant title, winning the belt. 2 UFC titles in under 2 years.